Welcome to Hathaway's podcast. Do not adjust your screens. Yes, you're seeing Jen Cross. I'm normally behind the scenes producing, but today the wonderful, very talented pastor Marcy Milburn is producing today. I wish you could see her. She looks amazing. But this episode of the podcast is a very special one because we are joined by our children's ministry staff, Elisha, Sarah, and Elizabeth. They're here to talk about all things children's ministry, summer camp, VBS, what children's ministry means to them, and to talk a little bit about their family. So thanks for coming in, girls. I really, really appreciate it. So I know you're all very excited to be here and not nervous at all, right?
Not at all.
Alicia, how many times did you say you've been on the podcast?
This is either 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
She's
Sarah,
an
how
old
many
pro.
times?
It's my first.
It's your first time?
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Very
Thank
much
you.
welcome. Elizabeth, how many times have you been on?
Only audio.
Only audio. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. So
that
way
was a long
back in
time
the
ago.
day. Yeah, I think we're on. I accidentally put episode 723 in the description this morning, and it's actually 273. So it's not 700 episodes.
We
but it's
skipped
certainly-
500.
We skipped
That's
500.
a lot.
I know, right? So let's talk a little bit about children's ministry and the church and kind of what it means to you guys, what it means to your families, kind of how you got here. I know a lot of us got into children's ministry because we made eye contact with a certain ministry director back in the day. But let's just, Alicia, just start with you. How did you get into children's ministry here at the Way? Kind of how has it evolved over time? Just talk a little bit about that.
So I've always worked with kids, but here I actually started in the nursery
Oh, wow.
when we were in this room.
Yeah, there was
So
a big
that was
mural on
weird.
this wall at
Yes,
one point. I
I
know
remember.
Marcy and I painted
All
over
the
it
animals.
a couple times.
Right.
Yes.
So I did that. I started there, and then I think I did that for 2 years. And you and Marcy took me out to lunch, and we're like, or we went out to coffee. Sorry, but I don't drink coffee. And you were like, hey, how do you feel about doing this? And I worked a full-time job and was in school at the time and had like 6-month-old baby and just one then. And so you did a lot of it. You did a lot of the work for me in the beginning and I was just here on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Doing the lesson and leading the leaders, but you did a lot of the curriculum stuff because I just didn't have time. And then as time evolved and jobs changed, now I get to do all of it
Yes.
for the preschool and kindergartners.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And you
It's
work
fun.
at the Christian school also.
yes,
right?
I'm the director at the Newton Christian Preschool.
Yes.
So I do that technically part-time.
Yeah.
So I get to be here 2 afternoons a week, and it's kind of perfect. I've got my schedule down to where I can get everything done and ready for a Sunday morning.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, I joke all the time because we have a filing cabinet full of old church directories, and we actually have directories that are so old that your family is in it, but you're not in it because
Yeah,
you weren't
before
born yet. So talk a little bit about how long you've been at the Way and children's ministry and how you kind of got involved with that too, because you've been at the
Yes.
Way actually longer than all of us in this room because you were here when it was community
Yeah,
reform.
very long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have been here since I was a baby. Before it was the Way, when it was community reformed church. So I've kind of just grown up here and stayed here my whole life. So yeah, like you said, like this used to be the nursery. I used to volunteer in the nursery, and then when it was next door nursery, and then I volunteered for Rush. I think it was called something else. It wasn't
Journey
Rush.
252.
Journey 252.
Yes.
Yes, back in the day, which I really enjoyed. And then I was working in childcare for a while, for like 4 years, 4 or 5 years, a couple different childcare centers. And then I was transitioning from there to just finding something new, new journey. And then I got asked by, I don't know if it was Marcy or Trisha first, but I was asked to lead the 1st through 4th grade children's ministry, Rush, here at the Way, which I have enjoyed for 3 years now. It's my 3rd year
Wow.
that I just finished. So, yeah, it's been really good. I lead the 1st through 4th graders. And, yeah, I feel like I had to kind of take some time to think about it because I was used to working with, like, the younger ones, in childcare. But it's been really good. And I remember it was a pool party like a few years ago, and I was like, yeah, I think I will jump on that, and took some time to pray over it and just see if that's what God was calling me to do. And then at the same time was also when I started the preschool with Elisha, the Christian preschool. So just started on that, and then yeah, it's been good.
That's awesome. Elizabeth, you're up.
I'm up. I have been working with fifth and sixth graders. I was talking to Nathan, my husband. I think it's 10 years now,
Wow.
maybe 9 or 10.
Yeah.
So
I don't really remember a life before any of you, but Elizabeth also. Like, I don't remember children's ministry without
Yeah.
Nathan and Elizabeth being a part of things.
Yeah, it was Nathan and I at first, and we just kind of led on a Sunday morning. We didn't do any of the curriculum stuff. I think it was you that was in charge, and you made it very easy for us to keep going. And we did that for a few years, maybe 4, 3 or 4, and then we started having children.
Yes.
And when that happened, I wanted to continue, and Nathan was like, okay, I'll take the kids. And then I did it kind of in the same capacity with some other people.
I remember I helped you at one
I was
point,
going to say
actually,
you. Yeah,
now that
you
you're
were
saying
there
that.
one of the years. And then I was shoulder tapped by, let's be fair, probably Marcy. And
She sees things.
she sees things
She
and asked
does.
if I wanted to take ownership and kind of leadership within that age group. And yeah, I also prayed about it for a bit and thought that would be a wonderful transition. I think I had 2 kids by that point. So I've loved that. Just being able to pour just a little more time into it, a little more thought into it. And it's so fun. It's so fun every year. I love the break because I feel like that helps me keep going. We take a summer break from children's ministry. But every year I'm excited to come back and see new faces. And it's really been great.
And as she's bringing up the break, I think that's a question that we get asked pretty often. And I think that there are a lot of churches who do year-round children's ministry. But let's talk a little bit about the children's ministry break. So talk a little bit about, and all of you can chime in, but talk about the benefits of the break. Talk a little bit about why we do it. So that way, if people are wondering, why do you guys take a break in the summer? So talk a little bit about why the break is important, not just for your leaders, but for the families too.
I think the most important thing that I have heard, and I don't remember who said it, it might have been Steve or Marcy. I know Marcy says it a lot. But if your kids never go to a normal Sunday morning service between the time they're born and the time they're 18, how can you expect them to go out into the world and feel welcomed in a church service? And so to me, that's really like held on tight. Like, I know taking the summer break off is nice for us to regroup and get ready for the next ministry year and start fresh and just have that rest. But I think it's really important for our kids to be over there on a Sunday and see how the parents are worshiping and responding to the message and all of those things, so that they feel welcome and they build that community with the other people in the church that maybe don't have kids or any of that, so that they, when they are on their own, they have that space.
Yeah, you guys concur with kind of those thoughts too. Just the break is nice to take a deep breath, to worship together as a family, but then the kids really get the experience of Sunday morning. Yeah.
I think I've actually said this before to probably Nathan and maybe other people, but I would not have continued being able to do what I do if not for the summer breaks. Honestly, I would have had to step back at some point, but it gives you just enough of a break, and I don't know, it's just kind of wonderful. It's a little easier of a schedule. It kind of refreshes you. You can think about the next year, and I'm excited to then go back into it. So I think there's a lot of layers, but honestly, just people who volunteer, it is nice to have that break.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
helps you keep going and want to keep doing it.
Yeah, and it's not just you guys, and it's not just us. Our volunteers
there's
make
so
our
many.
ministries
Yes.
go. You guys are all staff at the church, but you are part-time staff at the church, and so you put on your time card when you're working, and so it's not a lot, but you put in a lot of hours spiritually. You put in a lot of hours mentally. You know, it's just that kind of that whole teacher thing. You guys do a lot without necessarily maybe putting it on your time cards, but it's so important, and that's one of the things I've loved about the way is over the years, the positions that need it, that they definitely needed somebody to be here, that were super important, that were more molding spiritual lives. They said, we're going to put resources into these positions. And you hear a lot of churches, Steve's talked about churches that are dying before. What are the ministries that you're putting your resources into? And it just not money too, but like people. And you have to put resources into children's ministry.
Yeah.
They are the future. When my kids don't remember a time before the way. And when my kids think about church, this is the church that they think about. You know, I will have a senior next year. She is going to be a senior in high school. She's going to go to Iowa State. But when she thinks about what does life look like after all of that, she's like, wow, what's my life going to look like for church? And she's been here so long, but between children's ministry and all the things that they've done, the volunteers help make it go. You guys keep it all going. And I just think when you have a church that prioritizes kids and prioritizes youth, I mean, Jesus said, let the kids come to me. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. So I just think it's awesome. Our volunteers are absolutely amazing. And you guys don't only have every other week volunteers. You have volunteers who serve every single Sunday. We've got one volunteer who serves in children's ministry. He runs over to collect offering, and then he runs right back over to help with the stations. And so there's lots of people doing lots of different things, and they're all volunteers serving the church, and it's amazing. So that's awesome.
I feel like it's also good to have the break during the summer for summer camp too, which we've been thinking a lot about. Just I feel like with me leading the crafts this year, and I did a couple years ago, just like all the prep for crafts and also a large group lesson.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was still doing Rush, like kids ministry and summer camp, like if it was during the summer too, that would just be a lot, definitely. So it's definitely good to have that break and just transition to the new ministry year and just reflect on what went well and what you want to change.
Yeah,
so.
and that's a good point too. So it's not just it's September through May. We are getting ready to have summer camp, which we'll talk about. But you guys also do 4 family events throughout the year. So there are family experience nights. They all have different things. So talk a little bit about the family nights and kind of what was your mission and vision with them? What does that look like? Talk a little bit about the family experience nights that happen throughout the year too.
So we have one like each season, like a winter one. Or what?
Each quarter.
Each quarter, I guess I think season. But like a spring, Easter one, and then either like a game night or a movie, right, in the winter.
In the winter.
And then nothing during the summer.
Well,
And
our
then
family night
what
at
am I
the end of
missing?
summer camp
Yes.
is our family
yes.
night for the
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we have one in the fall. But we actually, Marcy and I started it a while ago. We were reading a story, and I cannot remember the name of the title of the book. It was a really good book, but it talked about empowering parents to lead their children through Christ, and how some parents just don't feel adequate in that, and so they leave it to the church. But if you're only coming to church on Sunday, you're maybe getting 2 hours of Jesus into your children before the week, but that's it for the whole week.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing something at home, all those hours you have at home with your kids are wasted essentially in the eternal aspect of it. But they just need more. They just need more. So the goal of family nights was to show parents that this is something easy that you can bring Jesus into your home. Like we've carved pumpkins and related it to Bible stories. We've made crafts and put things we're thankful for on them that God's given us, and thank him for those things. And just the point is to be something simple that you can take into your home and have those conversations and bring it a biblical aspect into the things that you do as a family, and to just empower those parents to do that stuff with their children.
Right.
And we started doing it once a month at the beginning, and it was a lot.
Sounds like
it
a
was
lot.
a lot. We did that for a year, and then we're like, quarterly works. It works really well.
Yeah.
And it's easy for us to split it between the 3 of us. The family experience night at the end of summer camp is kind of all of us.
Yeah.
We work together on that one. But the other 3 throughout the year, we all take one and we plan it and get everything together, and then we work as a team to execute it. So
Do you find that it sort of builds communities within your families too? Like if you have families that come that maybe haven't met other families, like it's kind of nice to build that community of families too. Yeah.
And there's quite a few people that maybe don't come on a Sunday or even to children's ministry we've seen that will come to this. I mean, it just depends on the date and that what we do, but
Yeah.
they've been invited in or they hear about it, and it's kind of a short period of time. So sometimes we do meals so people will come and just enjoy that time with
Yeah.
their children, and we can get to know them, and so that's been neat too.
Yep.
And we try to post it on social media so
Yeah.
that the
Yes.
community knows that they're invited.
Yeah.
Because it's not just for our people. It's
Mhm.
we hope that it's an outreach to get
Mhm.
other people to
Right.
come in and build relationships with families.
Yeah, I can remember a long time ago when Marcy and I think you, when we went to Chicago, we went to a church, and it was amazing. But it was like, you've always heard that the parents should be the primary discipler, the primary ministry leader in your family. Like, your ministry starts at home. But it just like came on like a light bulb for us. It's like, okay, how can we empower parents? Because, you come to church, you take a Bible study, but man, it can sometimes be hard to sit with your kids or have a conversation with them, even though it shouldn't be hard, but maybe parents do feel inadequate. But then it was communicating with parents, letting them know what they were going to learn a week ahead of time, so you could have conversations with your kids at home before Sunday. And then you would have kids come the following Sunday, and they were like, we talked about the prodigal son at home. And I'm like, oh, excellent. Tell me about the prodigal son that you learned at home. And, parents, I mean, I have done a lot of things here at the Way, but I learned the most in children's ministry. You read through the Jesus Story Bible. Marcy says that she cried in that when she finished it. I cried. I mean, you read about all of these stories. I mean, it's kind of laughable now, but it's true. I learned the most when I was teaching children's ministry, when I was leading those kids, because you're studying, you're studying it, you're going through it, and it was a wonderful experience. But I think that was the great thing for me, is watching the parents grow in their faith too while they're leading their kids. And so I think that's a really cool piece of it too. So yeah.
Well, and I think sometimes when you have new believers or people that are falling for the first time, they don't always know what to do.
Right.
Or how to get their kids more involved in it or teach them about it, especially when they're learning alongside their children. So I just think it's nice to be able to talk to other parents.
Right.
Even just have the opportunity to be like, hey, what do you guys do to make sure that you have intentional time for this throughout the week?
Yep. And it just starts by getting a Bible and reading them a story.
Yeah.
Asking them questions,
And they'll tell you.
and they will.
They will be very honest.
Yes,
Yeah.
they will. They
There's
will.
some awesome
And
conversations.
ask the hardest questions.
Yeah, I
the
know.
hardest questions I get do not come from adults. They come from my preschoolers. And I'm like, let me look into that for you. And you don't have to have all the answers. I think that's the greatest thing. When they realize that you don't have an answer for their questions, then they're like, oh, I'm not the only one that
they're
doesn't
still
know.
learning too,
Let's,
yeah.
let's learn this together. Let's get this together.
Yeah, I heard a long time ago there is no junior Holy Spirit. So this idea that you're reading, we'll just use a prodigal son for an example. Like, you're reading that story for the first time, they're going to the Lord is going to give them what they need to take in that moment for that story, but they're going to remember you guys doing a specific activity or one of their small group leaders doing a response station with them. And I always had this joke, it's like 80-20. It's like 80% fun and 20% business, because I felt like even when I was leading the youth, I was like, okay, if they can remember just this part, if they remember, the fact that we ate grasshoppers because we were learning about, John the Baptist, or, Miss Jen brought in all the gummy worms, like if that's what they remember, but they're going to remember that came from the Bible. They're going to remember someone praying with them. They're going to remember that. And so I just think it's really neat how the Holy Spirit works through that. But there is no junior Holy Spirit. He's going to work through that story and work through that scripture. So yeah, I think it's awesome. So talk a little bit about summer camp. We have been through years and years and years of summer camp. You guys have been a part of it. Some of you have been through it. So talk about summer camp. What does it mean to you guys? What does it mean to prepare for it? When do you start preparing for it? And then you guys can talk a little bit about the Live Out Loud that we're going to have next week right here at the Way.
I know. It's so close, it doesn't feel
I
real.
know. It's coming up fast.
I keep telling my kids that it's coming up, and they are thrilled.
Oh my gosh. Do
They
you
all got
guys
to go last
remember
week.
going to VBS and summer camps though when you were kids?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Like those
fun.
are extremely vivid memories.
This is the best week of summer.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
that was
Yes.
the best week of summer was when we got to
Yes.
do those things.
Yes, absolutely. Like those are memory. I mean, that's those are things that those kids are going to remember. So talk a little bit about summer camps. We're obviously, we have everything in the new building, but there was a time when everything was over here. I think there's maybe been 1 year that we had to cancel the last night due to a tornado. It's always 150,000 degrees. The kids are sweaty. The kids are hot. Gym Cool is outside giving everybody water.
Next week,
I know.
Like, oh.
But so just talk a little bit about what the plans are for next week for summer camp and who is it for and who can come. Just talk a little bit about what they're going to learn next week.
So,
what songs are they going to
I can go first.
Elizabeth,
Okay.
you want to preview the music for us? You want to sing some of the songs for us?
I have been practicing. Trisha and I will be up there.
It's
My
been me
kids
the
have seen it.
Past couple
I
years
was gonna
doing
say,
worship,
Sarah.
and I'm taking a break from that.
I
this
got
year.
nominated.
I was like, I will do the worship and opening unless somebody else would like to. Elizabeth's like, I'll do it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
figured I could do it this time. So it's been fun. There's quite a few new songs that come with the curriculum, which are very fun. And I tried to do a good mix of. We're gonna do a couple times so that they kind of know what they're singing and a lot of new ones. So it'll be pretty fun. There will hopefully be actions as well for some of the songs.
Awesome.
We're
You know,
learning.
You asked me if I did
Yeah.
actions in the past with them. I'm like, well, actually, I did practice
Yes.
last year, but the year before, I just kind of did songs that I already knew,
Yeah.
so I won't have to learn all the new ones.
So kids will come in. We'll have some fun things that we'll do before the actual start to just get everybody situated, and then I think we start with worship, and then go right into the lesson. I will be giving the first 2 large group lessons, which is exciting. And then Elisha, you'll do number 3, right?
Yep, I'll do Wednesday,
Okay.
and Sarah's doing
And then I'll do
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yep, family night
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yep. And then we go into there's different sections of the
Stations.
stations.
Mhm.
That's the word I was going for. Stations, and so each adult will know where their kids are going, and they'll go to the different stations.
So we start
Yeah.
at you can drop off your kids between 5:45 and 6.
Okay.
The night actually starts at 6. So Elizabeth does some fun games with them from 5:45 to 6, keep them entertained. And then at 6 we start with worship and getting all their energy out, letting them move and groove. And then we do our large group lesson. And then we kick off the night, and it gets really exciting, and they get to do a craft and
Yes.
do games outside, use up all their energy. And then they get to the response station is probably my favorite. They get to answer questions about the story that they learned. So they have questions that the volunteers go through with them, and an activity that goes with the lesson. So like, I know this one's on the top of my head. Elizabeth's doing washing the feet. Jesus washing the disciples' feet the first night. And so the kids are going to wash each other's feet that first night, and just learning the meaning of it, and having those discussions about what it was really like, because our feet are extremely clean compared to what they would have been back then. I mean, even if you think about your child's grossest feet, they're probably still way better than they were back then. So, I mean, just learning to be humble in those moments and stuff. And so the response activities are different every night, but they go with the story, and they get the kids engaged with it and doing those activities that do help them remember the details of the story and remember the deep meaning, and then also relate it to them.
Yeah.
And they get to do a prayer every night. Each individual child has their own little book that they get to write their prayer in and stuff. But then we end the night back together at 8 o'clock, and parents pick up, and that's the first 3 nights.
Yep.
And then Thursday is family night, so the families get to come, and we're actually doing a service project this year. So we're going to be serving the community center delivers meals to elderly that can't get out for lunch, and so we're making little essentials bags for them of things that they can use in their home that would be helpful for them. And so we're making those, and then the kids are going to make cards for them. And then we're also making some flowers and some other packs for one of the nursing homes in town for those people. And so I think it'll be fun. They'll have a story or a lesson that night too from the Bible. But then we'll split into groups, and we'll make these things for them, and we'll deliver them probably the
awesome.
next day. But
Yep. And there's no cost. Even if you have a baseball or a t-ball or softball or something, one of the nights, you can come the other nights. That's completely fine. We've had lots of questions. Can we bring kids in our neighborhood? Yes.
Yes.
Please bring the kids in your neighborhood. If you have a minivan, pack it full, register them online, put yourself as the emergency contact. We would love to see as many kids from Jasper County here at the way. And again, I know I said it already, but it's no cost. So there's no charge. We have there's no offering. We don't make the kids take an offering, but we really invite all of the Jasper County kids. And if you're going into kindergarten through sixth grade, you can come. So it's going to be a really great time. So summer camp is a very exciting time. I go back through my camera roll, like my time hop at this time would be like me looking exhausted next to a beautiful can of Red Bull because, I was working full time and then doing summer camp in the evening, and all of the volunteers and all of you were putting in so much time. By the end of the week, you're exhausted, but it is a very wonderful kind of exhausted because, as a staff, we talk about our why all the time, and you can get lost in reading the lessons and cutting out the things but I look at it as a service or a summer camp or a rush lesson could be that time when that kid accepts Christ into their heart. And I think that's why it feels like it's so weighty. We rely on Jesus and the Holy Spirit is going to arrive, but we're going to do the best that we possibly can to create this space where kids are comfortable, where they feel safe, where they can be themselves, where they can have fun. And if that leader gets to lead that kiddo into a prayer of salvation, or maybe that kiddo just feels safe for the first time in a long time, you ask God to just hang on to those moments because that could be the moment that changes their life forever. So, again, 80-20, 80% fun, 20% business, but the Lord works through it all. And so that's what's really exciting about summer camp. It feels different than a Sunday morning.
Yes.
it does.
It really does. And the 2 hours flies by.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every 15 minutes that timer is going off to rotate stations, but it flies by. So it's a ton of fun.
So back to the first night when they are washing the feet, there's also a sugar scrub that they're going to make the first night, and then they can give that to somebody, the sugar scrub. I don't know if they would use the sugar scrub on somebody if they feel that comfortable, or they can just give it to somebody. And then there's some other fun crafts. There's a water bottle holder they can make, and each day, it relates to the lesson.
I love
so
it.
somehow, if you hear about the craft, you might be like, well, how does that relate to the lesson? But there's a part that I will say, or the leader will say, that relates to the lesson for that day. And then Elisha said her favorite one was the marshmallow shooter. It's like you cut the bottom of the plastic cup, and then you cut out part of the balloon, and you pull the balloon over the bottom of the cup, and then you have to put packing tape around it. And then if you put a marshmallow in it, you can fling it out and then try to catch it with a cup, or just
That's
I
amazing.
think we're going to have a marshmallow war, I'm telling you.
Yeah, how many
Our
parents
dogs
are
are
going to go
gonna
home
love
with
that.
a stomach rot from
I
all of
know.
the
Well,
marshmallows that they're
so it's
going to eat?
5 per kid we're gonna do. So
I figured if we
they're all
limit
probably just
it,
gonna go on
maybe
the
they won't
floor.
eat them.
I didn't
and they'll
order
just-
you marshmallows,
get thrown
so
away.
you might need
Oh,
to.
we have plenty
no,
of
Sarah got them
marshmallows,
for us.
yes.
She's amazing. I was like, hey, I need this many marshmallows.
So I was
I
actually
got little
testing
ones
it.
and big ones because she's doing that, and then we're sending s'mores home with them on
Oh,
family
yeah.
night, prepackaged s'mores.
That's
So-
amazing.
Well, we figured that it went with the theme, the camping theme.
Mhm.
Yes.
It was cute, so why
Yeah.
not?
Well, I
And
sent
then we-
Alicia the video too of our puppy catching all the marshmallows that I couldn't catch in the cup because I was testing it out at home. And Iris, my daughter, thought it was hilarious.
That's awesome.
Too. So I sent her the video of that.
And we left
then
the stage
there's-
empty so they could have a marshmallow
Yeah,
war
yeah, it'd be
that
good
night.
to
That's
go up on the
Something.
stage for that.
Practice.
I'm trying to think of all the. I'm been in my garage trimming a whole bunch of sticks for hiking sticks because they wrap thick yarn around the sticks. Tried to get, it says 2 foot. Some of them aren't quite 2 foot, but some of them are, and so they can wrap that with the yarn. When I was doing that example, I realized that the thicker yarn is a lot easier and faster than the really thin yarn. So that's one of them. And then I'm trying to think about the others. Oh, there's a DIY sundial where they
Oh.
put this little clock template on their plate, and then they can paint it, and then the little pencil sticks out for a
Yeah.
sundial. which I had to refresh my memory. I'm like, a sundial? What is that? So I had to
We learned about this in history class.
I'm like, wait a second, what's a sundial? No, and then what else is there? I don't know. I'm the one doing
It's
the
okay.
crafts
It
and
can be a
drawing a blank.
surprise.
But yeah, it'll be a
Crafts were
surprise for
always
the rest.
like one of my favorite things. I will never forget making slime, and the leaders
Yes.
thought I was nuts, but I was so like
And the parents
every
were probably mad at
station-
you too.
every station, but they remember it. Every station, it's all for Jesus. Every station was pre-measured out. The leaders knew what they were doing, and it's I remember laying awake at night. And I was like, I think I can do this. I'm going to do this. Oh, parents are going to hate me. Somebody's going to email our pastor. Jen made those kids make slime. Like, oh my goodness.
It's like when I let them throw glitter everywhere so they can shine for Jesus.
Yeah.
And the cleaning team is like, why is there glitter everywhere? I was like, it'll be there
So
forever.
hard to
It'll be
clean up.
beautiful.
Yeah. I think the one
It's a
thing,
memory.
like, no helium balloons in the worship center. Like, how long would the helium balloon stay in the ceiling? So,
Oh, yeah.
oh, it's so
I
funny.
bet.
It's just those, quintessential things. You just, it's all is, nothing's off the table with kids. Like, we just do it all. Water balloons, painting, yeah, it's super fun. And yeah, you guys do a great job. So, kind of back to our why. Talk a little bit, each of you take just a couple minutes and talk about why children's ministry is specifically important to you and what makes you come back every year and say, I'm going to do this. So, Elizabeth, let's start with you.
Okay. That's a good question. I really like the 5th and 6th grade age. They're at a very interesting part in their life. We're doing question-based curriculum. So you're kind of diving into the Bible, but really it's question-based as to questions they might have at this stage in their life. And we really try to tackle topics that pertain to their life. And they could be a little bit difficult. And as they seek truth, as they talk to each other, and we can kind of talk as a group, it's just amazing to see how the Holy Spirit works. And it changes me. I've seen change in the kids as well throughout the year. I see it's really fun to see the 6th graders graduate.
You're good.
And a lot of times they will then come and want to. Sorry, that's okay. I'll let you.
This is the joy.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Want to serve.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll serve with summer camp or children's ministry or nursery, and they kind of pour back in. They have been poured into, and they probably do it other times in their life, but that's a joy to see.
Yeah. So you've been at all ages with me and all ages with Marcy. And how old are your own kids?
I have 4 kids, and I have a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 1-year-old.
So
So
this area that you lead, those kids are not the same ages as your own
No.
kiddos. So yeah, so it's sort of preparing you a little
it
bit
is
also.
preparing
Yeah.
me for that
I love it.
time. And it's really neat to see how God works no matter your age.
Yes.
God will work in your life, and whether you grew up in church, didn't grow up in church, this is kind of the first time you're hearing something. Kids will bring friends that they've had over for a sleepover, and they feel comfortable enough. This last year, this meant the world to me, but one of the girls said, I can be myself here.
Oh, Elizabeth.
And that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Even just that with other kids there, they're still kind enough
Yes.
that you can feel like you can be yourself, however that is. And especially as a 5th and 6th grader, that can be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
One of the things I love that you did this year was you had them serve on a Sunday. And you reached out and said, hey, Jen, this is kind of what we're doing. You reached out for prayer and welcome. And you had 2 kiddos who wanted to serve on the tech team, which I thought was awesome because they were kids of volunteers on the tech team.
Yeah.
And so it was really neat to watch those kids be able to be upstairs. So I had to be strategic not to put them with their parents because, it's like, but it blessed them to see that side of things. But it was just interesting to, my kids are probably always going to remember mom and dad being a part of church in some capacity. Like I used to, whole truth, I used to really lose sleep over this idea that my kids didn't sit in church together as a family. but I know the Lord is going to bless that, and there is going to be a time. But what my kids are really going to remember is that their mom and dad served at the church. And now my kids serve at the church. Reagan loves helping in the nursery. Callie helps on the tech team. She'll literally do anything anybody asks. And Mackenzie is really enjoying just getting to sit with her friends in church without her sisters. So the Lord is filling those spaces, and he's blessing our time and blessing the volunteering. And that's one thing I loved about what you did with your kids this year was like, okay, let's take a Sunday and let's serve. So one of the other things you do one time a year is you split up the girls from the boys in fifth and sixth grade. So talk a little bit about that.
That's also one of my favorite parts of the year. I think this is probably going on 4 or 5 years that we've done this. So we split up boys and girls it's usually 3 to 4 weeks, sometime in the spring. And the men's ministry takes the boys and they do something with them. It's really fun. They construct things. They have conversations. I mean, it's wonderful, but I don't necessarily have to be a part of that.
Right.
And honestly, every year the boys love it. The girls really want to be there too, but we have a lot of great time too.
Right.
And then a lot of times I'll shoulder tap ladies in the church and just ask them to take a week.
Yeah.
Think about something that they would want to talk about, whether it was from their life or, we've talked about anxiety or perfectionism or just lots of things like that. Friendship. And they'll discuss something. Usually we have some sort of activity that goes with it, and the girls really become close. A lot of times there can be like good vulnerable conversations, and it's a little easier when it's just girls or just boys. I mean, I think those are great conversations to have in general, girls and boys, but you have that little bit of time taken out of your full year for just the time together, and I love it every year.
Yep, that's
wonderful.
Awesome. Yep, it's a little bittersweet too. At Celebration Sunday in the summertime, we give the sixth graders that are going into seventh grade Bibles, and sort of Elizabeth gets to pass on her sixth graders that are going to be seventh graders to Julie Kane, and so that's going to be coming up soon. So if you have a sixth grader and maybe you're new to the way, or maybe you're only here every once in a while, if you've got an incoming seventh grader, outgoing sixth grader, sign up, and we'd love to present them with the Bible at Celebration Sunday. So yeah, it's awesome. It's such a perfect age. Sarah, one of the things I love about sort of the space that you're in is that you do kind of what I used to do. I just leave stuff hung up, like whether it was a prayer or something that they were asking God for help for. It stays up in the worship center, and that is a space that gets flipped over and over and over again for lots of different ministries here at the Way, and it stays up. And so many times people have said, "Oh my gosh, is that something that they just did on Sunday?" And I was like, "Yes." So I think it's awesome that you leave stuff there, and then adults get to see it during the week. So same question to you, like when Steve talks about remember your why, or when you get kind of lost in the mundane, what keeps you going, and what does children's ministry mean to you? What keeps you coming back every year?
So, like Elizabeth said, that's a big, hard question, but there's so many things that I enjoy and that I love teaching the first to fourth graders with. I feel like the most important thing is just planting that seed in their heart, and like even if they haven't like accepted Jesus into their life, like I mean, they may in the future, and there's so many like new families, new kids that I saw or that I met this year, or like they'd bring a friend, and like maybe it's like their first time like ever hearing, anything from the Bible or anything like that. So I just thought that's a really special part of it, and just being able to hear their responses too, like during my large group lesson, like there's different questions that I'll ask them, like how can this relate to like your own life, and just like hearing that from them is really special as well. I would say, like you were saying, like the response station and everything where they do most of the artwork. So there's 5 different stations that they like rotate around after I teach my larger group lessons. So the first one is kind of like a connect station where the leader just asks them a connect question and they kind of like do a game. Then they have like their verse station where they kind of like reflect on the remember verse or memory verse of the week. And they like focus on that for 2 or 3 weeks. And then there's a bless station up on the stage by the cross where they can just pray and usually gather in a circle and just do different prayer request blessing over the group from their leader. And then at the end, they share like individual prayer requests and go around and just pray as a group for that. The discuss station, the Bibles are right there, and they they just dig into their Bibles and reflect on.
That was
or
always one of my favorites. Yeah. Yep.
Answer the questions. It's usually just like 4 or 5 questions from the story. And then for the response station is where they do the craft. Usually it's a craft or just like a game or activity. But that's usually when I like hang up the artwork. Sometimes I feel like the artwork is like up there for a while, and I'm like, I should probably take this down. Like this has been sitting here for a while, but I know it's also good for like other ministries to see and everything too, like you were saying. So I definitely feel like seeing their artwork too, and just having them do that is one of my favorites as well. I'd say the worship at the beginning, after they like officially when we start with like the worship after they clean up. At the very beginning, at drop-off, they play up on the stage. And then when we start, we do the worship.
What's their favorite worship song? Like, if you had to pick a favorite, a song that
they love My Lighthouse.
Stop it right now. Still?
That's an oldie, but yeah, they still love it. They get super excited. I would say Super Big by Yancey is one of their favorites, or Super Wonderful.
Yeah.
Whichever.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of concerts in my life, a lot of them. And Yancey is right up there with one of my favorite concerts. That was at Third with Todd and Marcy and her boys, who I'm sure were like, get us out of here. But I will never forget that Yancey concert. It was one of the best concerts I'd ever been to, and I was jamming out to children's ministry for a very, very, very long time in my life. Tracy was like, no more children's ministry, please. Like music, like no more.
No, I'd say those two are definitely their favorites. But they definitely... Sometimes they're like arguing about like which one, and then I made a document of like first Sunday of the month we're doing this song or these 2 songs, and then I'd like rotate. It was easy when we were practicing for like an end of the year song, because then I'm like, oh well, we're just doing like our end of the year song or our Christmas song. Like
no
I don't
arguments.
have to figure out which song. But no, that's always good, and just being able to pray together, and like I said, just them sharing their prayer request and just talking to their leaders too about just like things that are going on in their lives, and just being able to, keep it an open space between them and their leader, and so they can feel comfortable about sharing those different things too.
Yeah.
What else? I'm trying to think. I'd say those are my main main ones. And then, like I said, we always have a program, Christmas program at the end of the year. Not the end of the ministry year, but
they
sing
calendar year.
Twice a year at Christmas and at the end of the ministry year.
So we do kind of like a craft that day, and it's kind of a fun day, and then have a little break around.
There's always a lot of
holidays and-
excitement when you guys bring the kids over and they sing. We have these risers that were made by Mark Hofer, and they are heavy as all get out, but they are sturdy, and we're gonna have them forever. And the kids pile up on the stage and they sing the song, they scream the song, they stand there, don't sing, but it is so much fun.
Sometimes they mess with the decorations.
And sometimes they mess with decorations. But it brings families to church. It brings family members to church. So it's such a great outreach opportunity when our kids sing. It's so much energy. It's just wonderful. So you guys
did great at the end of the year program too.
It's so stinking cute.
Really
Yeah. Yep.
I'm drawing a blank on the song. I chose it, but I sent it
Goodbye
to you.
Yesterday.
Goodbye Yesterday. Yes.
Yeah.
My kids still, every time it comes on the radio, they're like, this is the song we sang at church.
Yes. Yeah.
See, it's funny. I started hearing it on the radio after I heard it on the
After
website
we picked
Worship
it,
House
yeah.
Kids.
Yes.
I was like, oh, this is an actual worship song.
Yeah.
It's pretty new.
Yeah.
I hadn't really heard it
it's
very
very
much.
popular in the youth, the college age circles. It takes a lot of energy to do that song. So
No, it's good.
Yep. Elisha, what's your why? What keeps bringing you back every year?
So my why, and when I was a kid, I didn't have the greatest childhood, and church was like my safe space. It was the place that I didn't have to worry about anything or be anything. So that's kind of my why, to be with those kiddos. I just want them to feel loved and safe, and like they can come to us if they have any problems or anything. But I love watching the preschoolers when they get something or when they relate it to their life, and sometimes they relate it in the funniest ways. But
the prayer requests that are on the wall downstairs, like, help my mommy find her keys.
Yup.
help my daddy fix his lawnmower. Like, it's just like, it's zero, sometimes it has zero relevancy, but they're just saying what is in their hearts and in their, on their minds in that moment. It's like, okay, that'll work. We can pray for that. I want more time on my Nintendo Switch. Not going to pray for that. You know?
But I mean, even better, like some of those kids, when they start, so they start with me at 3, and they go through kindergarten. But like watching them at the very beginning being so scared to say anything.
Yeah.
And then they get to the point where they're like, can I pray for the group today? And they're praying for all of their friends and everybody in their group and just listening to them. Like, I will stand around the corner just to hear their prayer sometimes. And it always brings me to tears because it's the sweetest.
Yeah.
And they're so genuine in it.
Yeah. So the nursery, so let's talk a little bit about nursery for a second. So we have Kaylee in the nursery, and she's amazing. And so our nursery is for newborns through 3 years old, right? And so then once you get potty trained and you're 3, you can come to children's ministry. But the really neat thing about it is that some of those 3-year-olds, I mean, they grew up so fast, and their parents are teaching them at home. So they're really the leaders of the nursery. So by the time we do Little Sparks in the summer, Little Sparks is, talk a little bit about Little Sparks. It's coming up soon, which was also a reminder.
So
for me
Little
to put it out
Sparks is every Sunday in July.
Yes.
During the 9 a.m. service.
Yes.
And we do like a shorter version of what Rush would be.
Yeah.
So it's not as structured
More
as Rush.
playtime, right.
Yep, and there's more free time. It's kind of getting the kids that have been in the nursery
Right.
transition to having the whole time free time and not have to go straight into the whole time
Right.
structured.
Right.
And so it's for those kiddos that will be 3 by the start of the ministry year in September. 2, 4.
Yeah.
3 to 4, and they learn a Bible lesson. They do the worship. They do an activity they do a couple activities that go with it, but they also have time to just learn each other and engage with the new adults because they get used to the nursery people that they see, and it'll be new people.
Right.
But also they'll know a friendly place at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And so,
And that's what I love about it. It's just this sort of seamless transition from nursery, then they get to do Little Sparks in the summer, they go back into nursery, and then they come to children's ministry in the fall. And that's what I love because it's getting the experience. So they've maybe been in church with their families, they've been in the nursery, and then they get there and they're like, and some of them know Elisha, obviously, because of being at preschool with her. But they get to just be in an environment where they get to learn and they get to play. And then they go upstairs with Sarah, and then they go with Elizabeth, and then they go to youth group, and they go to high school. And we're getting to a point, Marcy and I are getting to a point where our kids don't remember a life before the way. And our kids have been through every single bit of our programming. And it's like, then our kids are thinking about, okay, this is what we want to have for our families too someday. So I think it's
awesome.
I think it's great. And I love that you guys are in the same place. They have to go downstairs to come upstairs, and it's just, it's awesome. It's complete chaos some Sundays, but it's awesome. It's so much fun.
It is. And in the summer when we're off, my family only comes for one service. Yeah. And my kids are like, why are we not staying for both services? Why are we not here longer? I want to be here more. And I was like, because we're done. Like, we got to hear the sermon. They're going to do the same thing again. Slightly different most of the time.
Yes.
But
yes. Yeah. No, it's awesome. And there's always this anticipation for the ministry year. I feel like it starts earlier and earlier every year because there's always new things for us to try. We anticipate new families. There's a lot of really exciting things that are going on here at the Way with the building and all of the other things. And so I think we need to buckle up. I think I know God is doing a lot of amazing things in the lives of families and in the lives of kids here. Talk also really quick, I wanted to bring it up. Talk about sort of the younger people, the youth that have been volunteering with you guys. So your volunteers have been growing young. So just chime in and talk a little bit about your high schoolers, your graduates, the kids that have been volunteering for you guys.
So we let them volunteer after they are done with 6th grade because we don't have like youth group. Middle school youth and high school youth is on Wednesdays. So we don't want them to miss out on that rush on Sundays. But so we have volunteers in the nursery. We have lots of youth in the nursery that love to play with babies. but I have 3 high schoolers that help 4 high schoolers that help me. Some every Sunday, some every other Sunday, and they are amazing. And the way they get engaged with the kids and I don't know how, but high schoolers get back to that energy level of the preschoolers. So they're like on that. They all have all this energy. Like, this is what we need.
Yes.
Right.
You guys can match each other in this level. But honestly, having the boy high schoolers, even the kids just respond to them so much different. Like, I love my girl high schoolers too. But you don't see a lot of guys that feel comfortable with young kids.
Right.
And so having those guys in there that are that influence, it just changes the spirit of all the little boys and just engages them in a whole different way.
Yeah.
And they can relate to their energy and they can relate to the way that they're acting, and they help them get it all out, and in a guy way other than
Right.
like if they need to punch a few times, the guys are like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And the girls are like, we're not doing that. So, but it's just so much fun
Yeah.
to have those youth kids in there, and they're so involved.
Yeah.
I never have to tell them to put their phones away. I never see their phones. Like, they're so good about just being engaged with the kids,
Yeah.
and it's awesome.
Yep. Yep. Sarah, you've got some
This
youth-
past ministry year, I had Lane. He had graduated last year,
Yes.
but the year before that, I had like 3 or 4 that were like about to graduate.
Yeah.
But I agree with Elisha. Like, they do have like a lot of energy,
Yeah.
and I can see them really enjoying with the kids, or enjoying,
Yeah.
being with the kids and just
Yeah.
the lessons and all the fun activities that they do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I only had week to week I don't have any high school or middle school volunteers, but I asked a high school girl to take one of the lessons for the girl and boy split, and that was a wonderful. I mean, they're all wonderful,
That's
honestly,
awesome.
but
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
neat that she was just willing to do that, and the
Yeah.
girls really respected hearing it's not too far away,
Sure.
her life experiences and things like that. So that was that
Well,
was
and
really
I think,
neat.
sorry, not to interrupt.
No.
I think it's fun too. Like, so our small group served a meal for the youth one Wednesday, and I brought my kids, and there were other kids, but they knew those kids. So when they go through the line to get their food, like, instead of the older kids serving the younger kids, the younger kids got to serve the older kids, and just the way their face lit up
Yeah.
when they were feeding them, and how they knew them by name. The big kids could call them out and were like, hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yes.
And just those things. So imagine, like, in the community when they see those people.
Yeah.
Like, when they see those high schoolers or middle schoolers.
It's like you're
out-
walking through Walmart and a little kid knows a high schooler. How do you know that person? From church. Oh.
Well, and they're all so excited
Yes.
to see each other.
Yes.
Even the big kids are
Yes.
excited to see the little ones.
Yes.
And they just, that is amazing. And it just starts like that mentor relationship from a younger age. And it's just so awesome to see.
Yeah.
It just reminded me too that day that you had the serve day with like your 5th and 6th graders going like to help my kids and Alicia's kids. That was good too.
Yeah,
for
we
them to
started
see.
kind of in the bigger sanctuary
Yeah.
doing things there, but then they ended it, whether it was with Elisha or Sarah's group, and or the nursery, they could
Yeah.
kind of choose within that. But even at their age, they could serve with the younger kids, and they were very excited.
Yeah.
They did so good.
Yeah. So maybe this might be hard to quantify, but what's the biggest need for children's ministry?
Volunteers.
Volunteers. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's the same for you guys, but I think volunteers.
Yeah.
It's so hard to find volunteers every year. And we have people that are dedicated that come back
Yeah.
every single
Yeah,
year.
There's
quite a
people that
few
are
that come
volunteering
every
for you
year.
guys that were
Yeah.
volunteering when Marcy and I were leading children's ministry with Miss Journey 252. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, like, this year, one of my leaders came off that she's going to be done. Like, this was her last ministry year, but she's been doing it longer than I've been here.
Yes.
So, like, I've never known children's ministry without her.
Right.
And so I'm like, how do I do this without you?
Yeah.
Like, I know I will make it. It'll be great, but you've just been such an amazing, essential part of this.
Yes.
And so then finding new people because a lot of people will say, I'm not equipped for this.
Yes. There's very few prerequisites for children's ministry.
Right.
You
And you don't
love
have to know
Jesus.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you will learn it.
Yes.
And just like you, I feel like I learned so much more when I started teaching it than I ever knew before.
Right.
So yeah, I'm like, Jesus will equip you. You just have
yeah.
to be willing. And I mean, you do have to have like a love for that area, because some people just don't do well
And
with
you
little
gotta put
ones.
on your patience pants.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to have patience. And there's Sundays that it's such a blessing, and there's Sundays that you walk away and you're like, oh, that was hard.
Yes. Yeah.
But you get through it, and then the next time they make up for it because they just do these little things that just are so sweet.
Yeah.
But volunteers for sure
Yeah,
is the hardest.
You guys
Yeah.
concur. Yeah.
I think I usually just have like one volunteer because
Yeah.
we take every other week. But I think when you're thinking of volunteering, it's nice to know that there's a lot of times you don't have to do it every week. Like we have a lot of people that rotate every other week, and that's a little easier
Yeah.
to think, oh, I might not want to be able to do it every week, so I'm not going to volunteer
Right.
because that's a lot to take on.
Right.
But to just know that a lot of times you could probably even say, hey, I can do this once a month
Yeah.
or every other week or something like that. That is helpful, I think, for people to know for volunteering. Like
Yeah.
you can say, this is what I can give to it. Like, can you use me?
Yes.
And especially I know in the nursery, like that's a hard,
Yep.
they need a lot of volunteers.
And people of all
and-
different ages.
A lot,
Too.
yep.
Yep. Yep.
And
yeah.
for that one especially, you could say, I could do it once a month.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
But and I think it's good to know that you're also not usually like you're not coming up with lessons and stuff.
Right.
So you'll be given what you need.
Yeah. That's a good point too.
And because that can feel overwhelming, being like, oh,
Mhm.
I have to do a lesson, I have to do all this stuff. A lot of times, like you guys will give the bigger lessons, and they're
Yeah.
they're there to
and
support.
and I
stuff.
think that's a good point. I think that's kind of was my mindset with children's ministry. You talked about in the beginning how I made it really easy. I really wanted you to be able to make the most of that hour-ish, depending on how long Steve preached. I really wanted to make the most of it. So if you knew what the story was, if you could hit the high points, because it's not just a cliche, but kids really are going through different things these days, and so you don't know what they're bringing in with them. And so just like in youth group, you could be on a detour from the lesson because you are talking about somebody's loved one who's passing away, or maybe one of your kiddos just lost a pet. Like you do kind of go on a detour sometime, but if they can come in knowing what they're going to teach, and you know that the table has been set for you, you just have to sort of be present with your kids. I think that's the biggest thing. And so we do a lot of work for Sundays to make it as easy as possible for our leaders. So you just have to really just come in knowing a little bit about what you're going to teach on Sunday, maybe know a little bit about what the rotations are going to bring, but just arrive and be present. And you guys pray with your volunteers before you guys lead, which is really great because, again, Sunday mornings can be chaotic, not just here. The enemy hates Sundays. And not only does the enemy hate Sundays, he hates our families on Sundays. Like, what can we do to stir things up on a Sunday morning? It's not just flat tires. It's making a mess before we leave, or,
Sometimes none of the computers work.
sometimes none of the computers work, right? And Jen's running around like a crazy person.
Printers won't connect.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
One of my famous Sunday morning things is I'm like, you're not winning today. When
gotta
things start to
connect
go
to the
wrong, I'm like,
Wi-Fi.
you are not
Yeah.
winning this
You
today.
have no idea what you're up against. We do not need name tags. Thank you very much. Would you sort of agree with volunteers and just
yeah,
sort of,
I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like it was hard this past year to find I mean, I was good on volunteers and everything, but I've definitely had the few staples that have been around the
Yeah.
past few years.
Yeah.
But speaking, from what you were saying, there was one new leader I had this last year who was like, well, do I have to prep a lot for the lesson? Do I need to learn the whole lesson? I'm like, no, I'll have it all for you. You just have to be there with your small group and teach the
So I'll
kids.
just read it in advance,
Yep.
and then if you have any questions, ask me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will be there the whole
I'll
morning.
send an email
so
on Thursdays of what the lesson will be, or the stations for Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if all the leaders read. I mean, even if they don't, it's okay because
Right.
there's paper
Right.
saying all the things on Sunday. But this past year too, there was volunteers who would come every other week, and then there was ones who came every week. Which a couple years ago, I think it was most of them were every week, but it was good having that back and forth.
Yeah, and it still
this past
builds
year, too.
relationships with kids, even
Yeah,
when you're there every
definitely.
other week, because I know who you are. But again, a lot of our kids are around in other areas. So if there are parents listening to this podcast or watching the podcast, bring your kids to the Way on Sunday mornings. Check-in starts a little bit before 9. We run it during the 9 o'clock service. Usually pickup starts at what time? 10:35?
10:25.
10:25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually between 10/20, 10/25 roughly.
Yes, and our ministry year starts in September, so we will put some more information out about that. You'll register your kiddos online. That way we have emergency information.
And if you don't, you can always do it when you get here.
You can always, we sign in with iPads and we print name tags when we need to, but we want to make it as easy as possible. But all of the families in Jasper County, we would love to see your kids at the way. All of them, every single one of them, we would love to see them. So it's wonderful. Children's ministry is so near and dear to my heart, and we've all learned from the very best. Marcy Milburn back there pushing the buttons today. So, anything else you want to cover before I pray for you guys? Register for summer camp.
Yeah,
Register
kind of
for
back
summer
to
camp. Yeah.
from what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
But how you guys give the Bibles to your ongoing 7th graders. This past year, there was a lot of kids who wanted a Bible, like they didn't have a Bible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there's these black NLT Bibles that we you guys use every week, but I didn't actually know that I could go to the narthex and grab one of those.
Yes.
So then I was grabbing a couple Bibles for some of the kids, and then a couple weeks later, one of the boys. He got a brand new Bible from his parents, and he was so excited about it. I'm like, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I just like to say sometimes it can be a little overwhelming when you walk into this building because there's kids downstairs, there's kids upstairs. If you don't know where you're going, just ask anybody. Most people have been here or they know who can help guide you to where you're going.
Yes.
But we'll take you around and show you this is where you sign them in and help you sign them in and all that stuff. Just stop a grown up and they can lead you in the direction.
Yeah.
We do have shirts. We have red shirts. So if you see anybody with a red shirt that says Rush on it, they are a great person to ask. They will know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I just know it can be overwhelming with everybody coming in all the doors
Yes.
on a Sunday morning. So just make your way in and just grab somebody that looks like they know what they're doing.
Yeah. I've even seen people coming in that are trying to go to the service next door, and I'm like, because I'm like, I haven't seen your face before. Are you a parent? Are you looking for what tat are you looking for? And they're like, well, I'm just looking for the service. I'm like, oh, it's the other building. Trying to guide them to the other building.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, and if you're watching or listening to this podcast and you're looking for a church and you've been thinking about coming to the Way, if you call the office at any time, one of us would love to give you a tour. We can show you around. We can walk you through the spaces. And just because children's ministry is on the break this summer, with the exception of summer camp that is happening next week, we are having a pool party. It's actually on a Friday in July this year, not a Thursday, so it's on a Friday evening. But there's lots of things that are going on at the Way that do involve kids. So stay connected with us. If you're looking for a place to get connected, just reach out to us. One of us would absolutely love to talk to you. But the pool party is a great place to get connected to. It's free. We have tons of ice cream. It's going to be in July on the 25th. The date just came to me. Thank you very much.
And we have busy bags. We have busy bags, so if you bring your kids to church, and we love the little kids in church, they're gonna make some noise. It'll be fine.
Yes,
it'll be fine.
Yes.
My kids always make noise. They like to respond to the sermon, which is interesting.
When they're rhetorical questions.
Yes, the rhetorical questions, or when Steve says things like "shut up," they're like, "We don't say that." And I'm like, oh man. But there's busy bags in the back for kids to use during the service with different activities inside of them. They get replenished every single week. But take one into service. If you forget toys, or if you can use them every week. There's some clipboards too with different things on them. But take them in. Let your kids use them and just put them back in the bucket when you're done.
Yeah, we're a very family-friendly church. There are screaming kids. There's laughing
kids. Oh, yeah, there's room for
there's
screaming kids. You can still hear the sermon.
There's crying kids. There's cookies. Yeah. Yes, they can eat 5. That way the staff doesn't eat the leftovers. But bring your kids. The enemy wants nothing more than you guys to not come to church on a Sunday morning. And the staff is not exempt from the attacks at all, even with teenagers. So if you've been thinking about coming, please come. Just stop by the Welcome Center, or if you got littles, again, there's a nursery. But if you recognize one of us from the podcast, you can stop us and talk to us, and we would love to talk to you. So summer camp is next week. Register for that. Otherwise, we'll see you at the pool party. We'll see you in the fall. You can catch all of this information on newtonway.org. And we would love to connect with you, and we would love to meet your family and all of your kiddos. So anything else, ladies, you want to cover before I pray for you? No.
Awesome. Well, can I pray for you? We'll pray for summer camp and pray for the leaders, and that'll conclude our podcast for today. So, will you pray with me? Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this time today. We thank you for these leaders and the time that they put into their lessons, the time they put into the stations, and thinking about the kingdom impact that they are having, their volunteers are having, Lord. It's almost overwhelming to think about. Elisha was talking about how excited kids are when they get to see the big kids in public, Lord. But then I just started to think about how excited are those big kids going to be when they see those little kids in heaven, Lord, because they've taken the time out of their Sundays or out of their weeks to hang out with these kids on Sunday mornings, or even see them other places and know that they talked to them about Jesus. They read them that Bible story. They prayed with them. It's quite overwhelming to think about. So we're so thankful for them. Protect all of them and their families, Lord. It can be really overwhelming to balance it all, but they do a wonderful job. So just bless their time abundantly with their families this summer as they recharge. Be with us as we are getting ready for summer camp. Bring the kids, Lord, and let your spirit just fall on this place. Maybe this is just one of those summers, Lord, where there's just like this beacon of light that is shined on this campus, Lord, where kids leave here and they're different. They're different because you've started to change their lives, or you've started a work in them, Lord. So we're excited. We're excited for the work that you've started. So be with them as they continue to prepare. Be with all of the volunteers as they're preparing also. We thank you for the way that they have poured into kids and families